Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we have a theory video, but for those who weren't caught up with Campaign 3 of Critical Role, that being episode 78, I recommend you click off, because you will be spoiled. And I don't like spoils, you don't like spoils, no one likes to be spoiled. Well, there are some people who like to be spoiled. But anyway, there are spoilers ahead, so if you aren't totally keen on being spoiled for Campaign 3 of Critical Role, I recommend you click off. If you don't care, or if you are caught up, like me, we can continue. So let's get into the theory. So the spoiler warning out of the way, it is now time to talk about the main video, and that is, of course, much like the thumbnail says, what are Ashton's and Fearne's power-ups? Now, they both recently got a power-up. Fearne got hers back a few episodes ago when she sort of cuddled with Captain Novos and gave up a bit of her fire within herself to sort of fuel Captain Novos a bit more. And then Ashton, very recently, like super recently within the last 2 weeks, also absorbed the crystal using the harness and got a power up from there. They both paid a price for it, of course, and it both came in the form of HP. Ashton had a -2 reduction to his constitution, and Fearne had a -5 to her overall HP permanently. Both of them are permanent changes, and both of them now have some sort of power up that we have no idea what they are. They have not been shown yet, and it's only in my right to speculate. That's what this channel is all about, speculating and recaps. But the speculation part is what we're doing today, because I have a few theories in my mind about what exactly their power-ups are going to be, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I feel like I'm close. I feel like I'm super close to this one, so I can't wait to find out what they are. But without further ado, let's get into the theories. First off, I want to talk about Ashton. Ashton, to me, is a much easier sort of power-up to sort of figure out. So Ashton received a new Earth Genasi arm and some sort of power up with it after absorbing and nearly dying to the power of the crystal. But during episode 78, the most recent episode that came out, which is why there won't be a clip to go with it, because I don't want to have clips of a video that's not even out yet when I'm recording this, Matt said that when Ashton touched the ground, there's a feeling of anticipation before jumping into or stepping into a warm bath. Now, what happens when you stick your hand or any part of your body into a body of water of any kind? You go through it. Your hand goes through the water and is now in the water. This, to me, says that Ashton is going to have some sort of earth glide ability. He's going to be able to sink into the ground and move around as if he were an earth titan himself, which makes sense. He just absorbed an earth titan's powers. So, or an earth elemental's powers. So, I believe this is truly what Matt was signifying, that he can dip into the ground. It has nothing to do with like physical strength, although it could have, which is what Chetney and Ashton were sort of trying to mess around with. Is there some sort of physical acumen that changed? No, I believe this is a more of a connection to the earth change, and he can now meld into the ground and earth glide through it. I think that would be a great power up for him. It'll up his maneuverability tenfold, and I think would be very huge for a character like this to be able to move through the ground, almost get around enemies without drawing in any sort of opportunity attacks, and then come out of the ground and attack from behind. I think that would be huge for Ashton, and I think that'd be really cool. Overall, another thing that I feel like he could probably do with this is while he's earth gliding, he could still use his like portal to potentially hit people with the portal from underground so they can't hit him back. I think that would be something that's possible. I'm not too sure how it works, but that would be something really cool that I would imagine Ashton or Talza would think of. So I definitely think earth glide is what we're getting with Ashton, because that was almost exactly what it sounded like to me. The anticipation of what it feels like to jump into a warm bath. That to me sounds like he's just going to start gliding through the earth as if he was gliding through water or stepping into water. That's all I get from that. And realistically, I feel like this is a very strong possibility. Just the wording alone, to me, signifies that is what it's going to be. So I feel like I've hit the nail on the head with Ashton. Time to move on to Fearne's power-up.
The flame that ever smolders in your spirit dims ever so faintly as you feel that warmth leave you, and the cold, long dead captain seem to have a moment of color return. The bone not pale, blanched white, stone-like gray, but almost like a bit of sunlight hits the exterior of his bones. Two things. And I'll talk to you at break about one of them.
Oh.
Your hit points are permanently reduced by 5.
Permanently?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Oh, okay. Shit.
And we'll talk about the other part at break.
Oh my god.
Stay after class.
Okay. Oh, shit.
And then, as that leaves the captain, you hear go. I like those who keep up their end of the bargain. That's what we live by. And I thank you for letting me know what it's like to be the small spoon.
So Fearne's power-up is a lot more vague, because with Novos, there was a few things that we could sort of point to. His control over his crew, or the flame within himself, ice powers in general. So there's a few ways that I could theoretically go with this. The first one that I'm sort of thinking of is Fearne can now, take the life force of someone else. When Novos took the fire or the life force from Fearne, there was a mild change in his color, and later, when he took more of it from Cirilla, there was a total change in his color. He was a blue flame and then turned to purple, and Cirilla was a red flame, which also turned to purple after the whole indication. So she lost a bit of her flame, and Novos gained a piece of her flame. And I would imagine that Fearne might have the same capabilities of doing the same thing, and maybe gaining temporary hit points, whether it be from an ally, from an enemy. I think that's a possibility, but I don't think that's necessarily the one I want to sort of say is the concrete one. There is also the chance that she gets some sort of new fire ability from it. Now, whether the fire ability is sort of connected to literal fire and she can use it to whether heal a group of people, which is something that I've sort of thought about, like a red fire hurts people and the blue fire is something that she can use to heal a group of her friends en masse with a large spread of fire, of blue fire to heal people. And it would be like a small healing. So it would be like her version of like mass healing word or something like that. But it's like a blue flame that comes out. The other one is a fire that burns cold. So it's almost like you're getting frostbite as it's attacking you. And this is the one I kind of like the most. Novos had a connection with ice. We saw him activate whirlpools, and the water was able to turn to ice while they were fighting him. I think if Fearne had something like this, where it was like a flame, but it was like a frostbite flame, and it burns so cold that it is able to slow you, is able to do some good damage to you, something like that, to me, would be very fitting for the character of Fearne. A different type of fire to sort of go against her chaotic nature, because she has the flame, like the normal red flame of being very chaotic, which a fire is chaotic and erratic, and then she has one that can sort of cool the flame. And I think that to me makes a lot of sense, because she's a character who sort of needs balance right now of how much chaos does she want to really put into the world, which is a lot, but sometimes you need to temper it with something cold. And I think that would be so perfectly fitting for Fearne to get some sort of frostbite flame as opposed to just a burning flame, and she'll be able to slow people with this one, or she'll be able to freeze them outright. Something like that to me would be really cool and very fitting for the Fearne character. I do also want to point out for Fearne, there is the smallest, and I mean smallest possible chance that this new power-up could be a way to summon one of the crew members to wherever she is. One of the smaller, weaker crew members, she could just summon him and control him like another Mr. Familiar pate type and just be a summon. But I think that's kind of lame compared to everything else that she could get. That's why I don't really want to spend too much time harping on it, because frankly the other ideas are way cooler. A temporary hit point buff for herself by absorbing it from other people, or just being able to heal people outright, or even just being able to freeze people with a burning fire and deal some damage is way cooler than just a summon to me. So I don't want to harp on this one for too long because of that. Simple as that. And there you have it, my handful of theories surrounding what the power-ups could be. I am very much set on the Earth Glide. I am not too sure out of which ones of Fearne's I agree with, whether it's some sort of pulling in energy or life force from someone else to be able to absorb temporary hit points, or whether it be the frozen flame idea, which is the one I like the most. I'm sort of stuck and unaware, because I would imagine it has something to do with Captain Novos, because that's where she got the power-up from. So realistically, with the little information we have about Captain Novos and what exactly his powers are, I had a whole idea about him that he potentially was the one who brought back the rest of his crew, which is why his flame was blue, because everyone else's, with the exception of Cirilla, was also blue. So to me, it seems a little odd that there was, the captain is the same level of flame as everyone else, and then the vice captain or the first mate is red. So I would imagine maybe she was the first one he brought back, and then he brought back a handful of other ones with a smaller flame, which is why they have such like a command underneath him, and she's able to control them as well. So to me, there's something to do with the flames that I would imagine is like how he brought back the rest of the crew. So him slowly gaining power back. He doesn't want to risk his own crew by taking his power back, but taking power from Fearne is good. And like he said, you know, he likes people who holds up their end of the bargain. So she got something in return, which to me is very interesting. And I wonder if it's something relative to do with that whole thing of being able to absorb life forces. But until we find out for sure, we're just going to be stuck here in the whole speculation realm of things, which is a room that I like to sit in a lot. So yeah, I'm not really concerned about it. That being said, this is today's video, and I will see you guys on Friday for whatever I make next. See you then. Peace.